Hello, I'm Pete Starkey for Real Time with IPC Apex Expo here in San Diego. Delighted to have the opportunity to meet again and to talk with Richard DePoto, who is Business Development Manager with Uyemura. Richard, it's great to see you again. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure, Pete. Glad to be back this year.
It's nice to have the opportunity to meet face to face rather than mask to mask.
Absolutely, that's it. Yeah. Relationships are such a big part of this business because that's where the trust comes.
Yeah.
So glad to be here with you and talk about some of our developments.
Richard, the last couple of years have been a bit complicated by events. What have been some of the problems that you've had to deal with, and how have you overcome them?
Well, you're correct. The business really required an adjustment where we very much viewed ourselves as a technology company. When you described who we were, we really had to become very quickly a logistical and supply chain company. And so that was very important to us. I want to say we've come out of that a lot stronger. The way we attacked it is that we realized that we needed stateside manufacturing. As a Japanese American company, but Japanese owned, some of our technology was overseas, and we had to bring that chemistry in. So we've expanded our manufacturing capability, and now more than 80 to 90% of our chemistry is manufactured in-house, compounded.
That's a great achievement. And so precipitated by world circumstances, but probably in the longer term you'll reap the advantages of it. The Japanese have been much more lenient as they've begun to understand inventory issues better and supply issues, and so we've gotten many of the black box formulations now that we have them in-house. The second thing that we did is we concentrated resource-wise on the applications team, the technical service team. Many companies have serious staffing problems, and they now look to us very much for tech service. The level that's expected of tech service has gone from a moderate level to a very high level. They almost expect co-located engineering. So we literally have expanded by 100% the amount of field service and technical service people in our company. That's where the investment went. I appreciate the importance of that, having come from a technical service background myself. I know what it's about, and I know how some of the pressures that it puts the company under, and how people come to totally rely on your service and your expertise as a specialist supplier. Richard, where are you going next? What are your development guys working on? What sort of requirements does the marketplace seek answers to?
So we get asked for what products and what technology that we have in three key areas that are currently going on. The first and one of the most important is the high frequency marketplace. Every circuit design is continually climbing on the frequency curve. It is probably the first time I've ever seen a hockey stick that actually ended up to be a real hockey stick. So whereas over 100 gigahertz frequencies were reserved for military and radar, there are cellular applications, telecommunication applications that are beginning to push those kinds of frequencies.
So what sort of metallic finishes don't you want in high frequency applications?
It's a great question. So there are three components to high frequency. They're the materials. The materials guys are developing new materials all the time. The second is the circuit traces, which we are involved in, the copper electroplating and that surface finish. On the final finish side, high frequency looks to remove nickel from the final finish equation. Nickel, even with the phosphorus, is a magnetic material, and that is going to cause signal degradation. So we've got to remove that from the standard EPIG and EPAG processes. They're looking at 2 to 3 decibels worth of insertion loss just based on the presence of nickel.
So what are your recommendations to overcome these problems?
Yeah, so what's available to us? What's available to us is the removal of the nickel from the process and the substitution of palladium. So there are 2 basic products there. There is what we call EPIG, which is electroless palladium immersion gold, and there is EPAG, for those people that require a thicker gold along with the palladium. And so those are the 2 finishes that are out there. They're being thoroughly tested by specifications committees and high-tech testing companies and criteria. And so those will be the high-frequency finishes of the future. There's a third product which eliminates palladium and nickel. That's called direct immersion gold. So that's the ability to put gold directly over copper.
And what sort of thicknesses is that capable of building?
Up to about 0.3 micron. You can build it up. So the thicker gold you get there, the less that we can, less diffusion we have. And so DIG is another interesting product and a capability. It's been reserved more for consumer applications, telephones and things like that, rather than the high-rel side of the equation. But the more we learn about it, the more crossover that we see.
So you don't need a barrier layer underneath the gold to stop it diffusing away into the copper?
You do not need a barrier layer. There are the use of certain primer layers, like cobalt layers, in order to sort of slow down the diffusion by putting a quick immersion layer of cobalt and other materials. So a lot of development on the direct immersion gold side. And certainly that's a lower cost product.
What sort of things are your customers looking for? What sort of things would you suggest that they ought to be looking for?
We have 2 other programs that are major and that we're involved in a consortium called HDPug. I don't know if you've heard of HDPug.
I know of
but we're heavily involved in that. So the first product is, as we go to all of these solderless connections, the demands on the final finish as a contact and a reliable and long-term contact is burdened. Right? When it's soldered, it's very easy. So there's what's called a harsh environment now with connectors that are solderless. And so there's a lot of work trying to find out what is the best final finish for solderless connections.
And so far, what have you found? What sort of developments are in hand now?
I think on that subject, depending on how harsh the environment is, if it's mixed gas or not, the EPIG is the one that we're trying to see its reliability long term. Shorter term, reliability looks good. If we really stress it, we want to see how much it can hold up. Longer term, we actually think that one of those nickel-free products could actually prove to be a major improvement. And so we're also including that in the testing.
That's great. Richard, it's the first day of a brand new show, and it looks as if it's going to be a really, really popular show. I think people are putting the past behind them and really looking forward. Wish you every success with your new developments, and thank you very much indeed for joining us.
It was really a pleasure, and I look forward to having a great show, and thank you very much, Pete. Okay.
Pete Starkey for Real Time with IPC.